So great, everyone. Thank you for coming and wanting to learn more about your digestion. And it is definitely something that is very key to our health and being able to have a really good digestive system, everything moving well. It helps with our mood. It helps with our balance and sleep. It helps us be happy. It helps life function better. And it helps with your immune system. And so we're really learning that whole internal digestion area is so important. And when it goes haywire, you definitely know it on many different levels. So I wanted to kind of dive in today to kind of talk about that and then give you some ideas on what you can do to help yourself when it goes offline or is not working. And then also be able to give you some tools to kind of put it back online if need be. We call it online, offline. But it's just a matter of the body and the brain, everything communicating so that it can heal. So that's what I mean when I say online. So my thing today was saying, well, let's be honest. There's always a time in our life where sometimes we just kind of feel stuck. And a lot of times that can be in making a decision. It could be emotionally. It could be in moving forward in a direction in life. I just worked with a client that was having me muscle test several different careers of where she wanted to go. So a lot of times with quantum techniques and this modality I do of energy medicine, we can test many different things. And so today I want to talk about digestion, but we can be stuck in our digestive system. And that, like I said, it could also affect our ability to think clearly and move forward. So what's interesting is that it seems like no matter what area of life we're in, we always do seem to have an issue with our digestion. So I was thinking of changing our baby's diapers, and we're having to deal with that. And then we have potty training that we have to deal with. And then grade school and all the way, I think, through high school, it's kind of like they don't want to go at school. And so they hold it, and then they can get constipation issues. Different foods can lead to being stuck and things not moving through. So eating things like, pizza, that doesn't have a lot of roughage in it can kind of stop you up and have a lot of dairy in there and doesn't allow for good elimination. And then also there's the incontinence that can be also at end of stage life. And I'm actually personally dealing with my mom that has Alzheimer's and helping my dad. And so it sounds strange, but, he will call and say, hey, this is a situation today. Can you help me out? She's got, more diarrhea issues or more constipated. And so I can help walk him through that and help. So it's interesting that it's just kind of a part of life, no matter what age, what stage we're in. So what I wanted to talk about, first of all, is the parts of the digestion that we may not have thought about and the ones that we have discovered in doing quantum techniques. And so we kind of stumbled into this and being really aware of it in the last couple of years in two different ways. One is that Steve had quite a few, Steve Daniels is our founder of Quantum Techniques, and he found that he was testing a lot of babies that had just been born that were not pooping right away, and so they wanted to do surgery in order to get everything moving. And so he was able to kind of really dialogue with the whole digestive system to get it to start moving so they didn't have to go through surgery. I, on the other hand, was also dealing with a dog that had a very sensitive digestive system. And every time we took her in the car, she would have diarrhea issues. And so we were trying to go on a family vacation, and it was not a pleasant experience. So both of us kind of come from this from either direction. And so we kind of got our heads together and said, okay, well, what are the parts? So obviously we have large intestine, small intestine. We also have the peristalsis mechanism, which pushes the poop through, and it kind of squeezes it as it works through. You can also call that the intrinsic nervous system, which is the nervous system that kind of helps with that. But I call those two different things. One thing I think is interesting is the kidneys are involved. And so a lot of times people don't realize that when they're testing the digestive system or working with it, they also need to include the kidneys. And that's a part that sometimes we miss, but that's what helps bring more moisture into the colon to be able to eliminate things, or it adds too much. And so there's a fine balance there. Then we have something called the poop switch, which I think is kind of funny, but that's what Steve found when he was testing babies. And there's a certain switch in there that actually works with the brain to say, okay, we need to go. And what's interesting is I heard a TED talk on this probably been about a year and a half ago now, which talked about that. And so I thought that was kind of interesting that we had kind of been aware of this, and that was that idea of that turning on and saying, yes, I need to go, or being stopped up and don't realize that you need to go. So that can cause constipation, and you don't realize it's not just that things aren't lubricated enough to go, but it's that poop switch. The other one is the vagus nerve, and so that's in the back of the head. And a lot of times the vagus nerve is involved in lots of different organs and glands in the body. And if that's not online with the colon, then you have some issues with communication. There's also the HPA axis, which, and I always sometimes forget all the acronyms we have, but that's the hippocampus, pituitary, and adrenal axis. And that's the fight or flight. And so if you're not, or if you're in fight or flight, you're not going to be stopping to go to the restroom. So that's something that needs to be brought back into balance. Then you have the things you may have been aware of is the mucosal lining, which is the internal skin of the body. And when we're testing, we test nose and mouth, and then all the way through down to the anus. And then we test the microbiome, which is kind of like it, but that's the actual gut flora and balance of all the good and bad bacteria in the body. So they are a little bit different, even though they kind of seem like the same. Okay, and then we have the sphincter. Sometimes that can be too tight, just like sometimes with bladder issues, it could be too loose. And then I also have a YouTube I did about the Kegel muscles are also that same kind of muscle. And so if you're having any kind of women issues, that I usually test all three to make sure that they're in the right balance, because that's important. And then the neurotransmitters. So those are all the ones in the brain and also in the gut. And there's more in the gut than there is the brain. And so they need to be in balance. And so when you hear people that say they have depression and things like that, the first thing we want to look at is, okay, what are your neurotransmitters doing? And I have lots of experience of that because of my son. That's kind of his weakest organ, and trying to make sure that that is well in balance and what's impacting it, and making sure that everything is in a happy mood so I don't get cranky kids. And then there's 5 other things which we call the big 5, but they're almost like brain engines. So you have MOG, which is it says that anyway, so we call it MOG for short, so MOG. Then we have cell memory point, which is right here, and that's what your body's innate ability to know who it is and what it's supposed to do. And so we always kind of bring it back to, okay, what is the essence of who you were born with? And there's a lot of things that knock that off. So we're always making sure that that's in play. Then you have the amygdala, which a lot of times if you've had emotional issues, the amygdala will be out. And a lot of times I find that because of those emotions or anything else, your hippocampus, which is this is the touch point for that will be out. And then you have the adrenals, which is your fight or flight. And then you have the limbic system. So the limbic system is kind of the emotions, the drive, the thought processes, the goal-oriented, and that is also kind of involved in the whole system. So it's maybe more than 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8. So a lot of times we add more in there, but we call them the big 5. But those also need to be in line. Now, this also can apply to kidney issues and things like that. So it's one of those things that if you do have bladder incontinence with bladder issues, these are also some of the issues that you can test to find out if they're in balance too. But there's just a little bit different list. Okay, so those are the parts of the digestion that we're looking at to make sure that everything is functioning, it's all communicating, and it's all happy. So what we do is if someone is having an issue with that, or those areas, we would kind of be aware of what those areas are when we think about those. And then we would make sure that they are online with, and I hope this comes out with the thing. There it is. Okay. Nope, it's not going to show up. Okay. Let me do something here. Okay. Get to see my stuffed animals in the back. So anyway, so this is a picture of what we call a pulse chart. And this is a more detailed one, but we have one that we can send you today if you'd like. You can just leave your email in the chat and I can send it to you. But basically what it is on the wrist points, there are three, there are 3 points here, and then 3 deeper and 3 lighter, and 1 in the middle. Same here, there's 3 deep, 3 light, and 1 in the middle. And they just represent the organs of the body. So it could be the stomach, the thyroid, the bladder, the gallbladder, the lungs. And so we're making sure that when we think about the digestive system, that we're putting those online. And what I do is I just cover the wrists like this, and then I tap above the ears. Okay. The next one is the cortical contacts. And like I said, we have these charts. And so those are the different areas of the brain that we find need to be engaged for that whole area to work. And so a lot of times when we're doing a quantum techniques treatment, we have people say, okay, once you've put these online, then go ahead and put these points online, and it reconnects them. All right. And the last one is brain engines, or what we also call healing circuits. And so it's another diagram of a gentleman that touches all the different parts. And I have 20, but this chart shows, I think, 19 of them. And so there are different things like the tailbone, the heart, the thymus, the lymphatic system, the visual field, different points that help with detoxing the body, pons, which is fight or flight, cerebellum, which is the chemical makeup of the body. So all of those help the body reconnect itself. And so that way it knows how to communicate. All right. So once we have that together, usually what we do in a quantum techniques treatment is we find out, okay, well, what set it off? Now that we have it all communicating, what made it not be that way? And so we ask, well, is it something that was man-made or biological? And so man-made things would be things like chemicals, heavy metals, or ingestants also, because that could be also chemicals. Then biological, those could be things like viruses, bacteria, fungal, parasites. And sometimes injectants can be also chemicals, so that's kind of part of that too. So we kind of try to diagnose, and that's why we say that quantum techniques is a diagnostic form of energy medicine to find out what is impacting that system. And then we have some generic codes that we can send you also that talk about how to clear a virus, a bacteria, ingestant, an injectant. And so those are just basic codes that you can read or touch on the body to, if you know what it might be. Now, if someone doesn't know how to muscle test, that's fine. You would just look at the list and say, okay, I'm going to read these or release these or touch these points to get whatever it might be out of the body. And so that can rebalance it. So you don't need to know how to muscle test to kind of help that get better. And so some of the remedies that we have found to be very helpful in helping keep that whole body system working really well is for dogs, it's pumpkin, and it does work for humans too, to kind of make sure that that whole gut flora is back in balance. Probiotics are very helpful. Prebiotics, which is eating things that like vegetables and things like that really help that whole system stay in balance. And I do have recommendations that for probiotics. Some people don't test good on all probiotics, and some people do. So it really just kind of depends. But there's some that we found that do very well on most people. Another thing that is helpful is if you have something like a virus or bacteria that is impacting that digestive system, taking MMS or miracle mineral supplement is really helpful because it really does help clear out what's there and make sure and keep the good flora and keep that balance. And it helps so many things because it helps viruses, bacteria, heavy metals, parasites. It just really brings that balance back to the gut. So that's one of the things that, I do if I have an issue. And then there's also a product called ASEA, which is kind of like MMS, but it's more of a stable form, and so you can drink it. And what's nice is MMS is sometimes not available internationally because of different laws of different countries. But ASEA is available in Canada, in Europe, in the Asian countries, and so you can get it everywhere. Now, I don't think it's as strong for knocking out, like if you have a virus or bacteria that you just encountered, but for overall health, it really help balance the system and helps with many different things, because it helps with digestion and hormones and heart issues and I already said hormone issues, immune system. And so it's bringing the whole body back into balance. So it's a good supplement to use to help the whole body get well over time. So those are the things that I felt were really helpful to kind of share with you today on how to have a really good gut health. And I would love to know if you have some questions. So let's see, I suppose you can just take yourself off of mute. I don't think I may have to unmute you if your question, so you can always raise a hand. And I'll read and see if I have some questions here also.
I have a question once you.
Sure.
I actually two questions. One question is if you wouldn't mind to repeat the big fives, because somehow it was a bit cut off here in especially the first one, because I was taking notes.
Okay.
And the other question was, when you have the pulse chart, because I have it, and you said you just put your hand on your wrist. So are you saying that you can reconnect all the organs at once, and you don't have to just use every single one? Is that correct?
I do, yeah, because I've done it so many times. If you think it would be helpful to,
but other
which ones you could.
Yeah, and then I would just use whichever one I think is good, and then I just tap above the ears, right, to connect it.
Yeah, and each one of the charts, so I would tap above the ears.
Yes. Okay, super. Yeah, thank you, Jody.
Yeah. And you wanted the big five. So the big five is MOG, oblongata, and then cell memory, and then the hypothalamus. And I have both hypothalamus and hippocampus, and so I'm glad you let me go back on that. So the hypothalamus is on the very top roof of your mouth, and so we usually stick our tongue up there. So that's the hypothalamus. Then we have the cerebellum in the back of the neck. It's like that little dot indent back there. The adrenals. The point for that, if you want to know the adrenals, besides being right above the kidneys, is your calves. And then you have amygdala, and then hippocampus,
and medulla,
and then limbic.
Okay, that was missing. Thank you, Jody.
So I'm going to answer some questions here. So it looks like ASEA is spelled ASEA. And I am a distributor of that because I like the company so much. And so if you need information on a website and things like that, I can send that to you. Okay, got it. Okay. So Joanne, you'd like some of the charts? So great. I'll make a note of that. I think these may disappear after I, just turn off the recording. So I better get the email now. I can see that happening to me. All right. So yeah, ASEA, ASEA, ASEA. So a C, you can say it that way. All right. Okay, let's see. It looks like Darla, you would like some of the notes too, so I'm going to make a note of that also. So I figure I'd also kind of give you an example, if you don't mind, of kind of how we use quantum techniques to kind of help diagnose. And I hope that I mean, we're talking about poop, but it isn't everybody's life. So, so my dad texted me this morning and said that my mom was having some black poop. And so it was kind of sticky. And he's like, well, I'm not sure what that's coming from. And she's had some issues with being in the hospital and things like that. So what we would do as a quantum techniques practitioner, we say, okay, what's the key organ, gland, and tissue involved in this black poop showing up this way? And I got large intestine. So then we could test, well, is it ascending, transverse, or descending? And I got descending. I said, okay, so is it in the microbiome? I got to know. Is it in the villi that's in the intestines? And I got a yes. And so I said, okay, is it blood in the intestine, in the poop? And I get a yes. So then I got, okay, well, how many, is it like a lesion? Another, so there's an open sore or something like that. And I got, yes, there was 10 of them. So, okay. So then I know where it's coming from. Then I reconnected everything, kind of like what I told you. And what I found is we do a big reconnection of all different other points. The ones I gave you are probably the most important. But one of the things that I found is that her immune pathways for those villi in the intestines were not online, meaning that her immune system was not healing on those villi, and so they were causing an open sore. So if you think about it, like on your skin, if you have, you've made a cut or something like that, and it just kind of keeps bleeding and stuff like that, a lot of times what happens is the immune pathways that help that seal up and start getting well were not online. And so I just did the same thing for the internal of the body, and then he'll let me know if it gets better. But I thought that was a good example that just kind of came up this morning of how we would test and find out what's going on. So, all right, well, let me answer some more questions here. So Bridget, looks like you would like one of the charts. And if you don't get these right away, you're always welcome to send me. I'm going to send them out right away. I just hope I get everybody's email correctly. So if you don't get it today, send me an email at jody@quantumtechniques.com, and I can make sure that I get it to you, because I am not known for my spelling ability. Okay. All right. So
Jody,
yes.
you also give us how we could connect with you, like a phone number or something that you're comfortable handing out when you send the email or whatever?
Yeah, I was going to cover that kind of at the end.
Okay.
So my email that's best to reach is jody@quantumtechniques.com.
Okay.
And I do have it's a phone number, and so it comes to me. But it's helpful to kind of start if you're a new QT client or to wanting to work with me, is to send me an email, and then I can send you the information of where to fill out client paperwork and things like that. So then I give you my email or my phone number after that, and that really helps with the connection. All right, so let's see. So please send me some connection on the ASEA, and this is from Darla. Okay, all right. All right, and then we have Rachel, you would like to have some charts. Okay, great. Yeah, I think my intent is really wanting to empower you to be able to, feel like you have control of your health. And being able to give you these little tools, it helps you feel like you're kind of being able to kind of work on yourself and be able to, stay empowered. And I think that's just really, really important. So that's why I like sharing these and doing these Zoom calls. So does anybody else have any questions before I kind of just go over a little bit at the close here?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
Is the fascia involved in any of this?
The fascia. Good question. Fascia, at least the way I understand it, is more on the outside of the muscles. And so you think about when you're doing chicken and you kind of have that stringy part, that's the fascia. I literally just learned this morning, so I want to share it with you. So you're the first one to hear it. And I got this from Christine Northrup. that I listened to, and she said that if you put your fingers on either side of your neck at the back where the notch is, not the middle one, but the side, then you look down at the floor, and then you move your eyes to the right and then to the left and the right. If you're tuned in, you will feel movement in your body. And she said that's the fascia. And I found that fascinating because I had not known that before. So that's a good way to test the fascia. And so, if you're muscle testing, you can basically touch that and then test, is it, I want to be healthy, I want to be sick, or however you muscle test. A lot of times I bring in the fascia when someone has some kind of a muscle issue. So if they have back pain or a leg issue that deals with muscles, that's when I'll pull it in to see if it's working well or not.
Jody, is that the Vegas point that you're referring to?
Yes, that is also the vagus point. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, good point.
There's so much more information about the vagus nerve also lately, how important that is.
Yeah, and there's this vagus breathing, and really trying to clear that out. And it's really, and I can give you, which I think is interesting, the different points that the vagus nerve are related to organ-wise is liver, stomach, spleen, pancreas, bladder, colon, heart, and lungs.
It's a lot.
It is. And a lot of times if there's somebody that's really not healing, like the first path through or several, that's something I will test is, okay, the limbic system to the colon, the limbic to the adrenals. And sometimes I'll find that connection is out. And I haven't really found kind of a cause and effect quite yet, but it's just, sometimes it just goes out, and why that's more offline with more difficult cases, I don't know. But yeah, it's been fascinating to sometimes you have to go dial in that deep, but it's a way of communication. And I find that the vagus nerve will be out if someone has vertigo, and so testing ears and making sure that that's online is important.
Jody, I had something interesting happen to me about a year and a half ago. I was in a mall, and anyway, I got a concussion. And we were going out, we were visiting in Windsor with our son and his wife, and we went out to our favorite Chinese restaurant. And I had about 2 or 3 bites of food. I could not eat another bite. So when I got back to the place we were staying, I called a QT practitioner, and she found that my vagus nerve was out, and it was knocked out by the concussion. And once she fixed that, I was hungry and could eat again.
Wow, that is.
So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, so like the vagus to the stomach nerve, something was off there. Huh. Yeah,
Jody, I have one.
I was going just to say, I've also found that if you don't feel hungry like that, a lot of times 2 things that are involved is something has impacted your hunger factors. Is that something you can test, or your appetite factors? And also MSG is huge. And so you can imagine that the MSG maybe in a Chinese restaurant knocked off that vagus nerve. So.
Not this Chinese restaurant. They're very good. We don't, they never put MSG. Yeah, it was a concussion. Yeah, that's very unusual. Never had that problem before. I don't usually have a problem with eating.
Yeah.
Does blood type have anything to do with digestive issues?
Yes, I would say so. Many years ago they came up with that,
Dr. D'Adamo blood type
diet. And
yeah,
I think it is. I think it has something to do with it. And I have a big chart that shows, A, B, all that kind of stuff. And I found that how I eat is for my blood type, and so I found that you kind of gravitate toward that kind of naturally. And so yeah, I think it has a lot to do with it. I wouldn't say I'm stricter about it anymore, but sometimes people really do find that helps them.
But do you use that in your diagnosis at all?
I haven't really. It's more just the knowledge that I have from understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it would be helpful. Have you thought of something that you have worked on?
Well, I know that I'm type A, and they say type A has lower stomach acid.
Ah, okay.
So if certain blood types have certain tendencies, maybe it would be more likely for certain things to go offline, let's say.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. You know, in talking about digestion, you know, that is something
Yeah.
to definitely think about. So, so A was stomach acid. Yeah, no, I think that's really important because I think a couple years ago, or I think it was about a year ago, we realized how important stomach acid is and having that balance and making sure you have a good HCl or hydrochloric acid balance in your stomach is really important. So, good point. Thank you. I'll look into that because I do have
Jody,
clients that are dealing with digestion.
yeah, I have one more quick question, if I may. So digestion issues, like often it's like you are constipated or you have diarrhea. These are the two classics, right? So what's your experience like? It's funny that you're doing this call today because I'm working on my digestion in the last couple of weeks. And what would you say could cause that when you are constipated and then you work on it and then you do have a release, it's only diarrhea and then it goes back to constipation. So you either have constipation or diarrhea.
Or, are you taking any things like, you know, MMS or C, vitamin C or anything like that?
I do test my supplements every day and I do take vitamin C. I also take something called fiber regulator.
Mm-hmm.
And other supplements depending. So yes.
That's a good point. Obviously, so we would say, okay, so this back and forth, is there a key organ, gland, and tissue that is not doing its job in that regulation? Okay, so
Okay.
that would be kidneys. Okay, so if we were to say your right kidney is functioning at a 1, your left kidney is functioning at a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so 5. Yeah.
That's bad.
So I would work on the
Okay.
kidneys for bringing that more into balance. And yeah, so that's where I would start.
Okay, super. That's super helpful. Thank you, Jody.
Yeah. You know, and taking MMS baths, I think sometimes helps with the kidneys. Doing a asparagus bath is helpful for kidneys, and what that is you eat asparagus and then you go sit in a tub and you pee in the tub, and it helps the body release any of the stones that get involved in the kidneys, or you know, so it helps them stay more balanced.
Well, I remember that about watermelon when you have kidney stones. Is it the same? Yeah. I mean, I don't have a tap, so I can't do it, and we don't get asparagus here either. But I remember that Stephen told me, kidney stones, eat as much watermelon as you can, pee and sit in there, and I did it.
Yeah, so I have someone take watermelon one day and do asparagus the next, just like that. So.
Super. Okay. Thank you, Jody.
It's amazing. I mean, I would. My husband is on board with what I do, but his hip was really hurting. I said, okay, try this, because he had gone to the chiropractor, massage, everything, and within 5 days it was completely gone and he was fine.
Okay, cool.
Anybody else have any questions? Great. All right. So let's see here. Says one of the questions that have come in. Okay, it says, do you still order MMS from? No, I don't order MMS from Well, hold on. Sometimes I memorize these things and then I don't remember. Let me look it up real quick. I'm sorry, hold on. Lots of files. Yeah, it is discovermms.com. There's also a MMS, if you want to get MMS and DMSO, like you order them at the same time, there's also mms-supplement.com. And then if you don't mind mixing and making your own sodium chloride, we have a third possibility where you can actually buy the citric acid flakes, and then you cook it and stuff like that. And so I have a resource on that, but I don't believe I have it here. So, but if you're interested in that third way, I can let you know.
Jody, I can't remember the full name, but it's A to Z something.
A to Z healthproducts.com is who we used to get it for. But the founder of that did pass away. And so they kind of finished out selling his product, and then they took it offline.
So they're not selling it at all anymore.
That's correct, yes.
How long ago did that happen?
I was surprised because I had a big supply that I had ordered many years ago. I think it was about 1.5 years or 2 years ago.
Okay, because I can't remember the last time I got some from them.
I know. Yeah, it
A
really
year and a half.
surprised
It
me.
might be 1.5 years or something like that since I got it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd been giving it away to that number of people, and I realized, whoa, this isn't working anymore. So I got new sources on it.
So discovermms.com is one place you can get it?
Yes.
Okay. Great.
All right, let's see here. There's another question coming in. Oh, sure. Okay, so I'm going to repeat the sites again. So it's discovermms.com. And then if you want MMS plus DMSO, and the reason sometimes that's helpful is when you put the MMS, let's say on a skin issue, to get it through the skin, you put the DMSO on the skin. The ASEA company, they also have a product, and I probably, what do I have it here? One little tiny bottle. They have a product called, it's really hard, here, I'll do it, Renew 28. And it's a gel form of the ASEA, which is the MMS. And I find sometimes with different things that I have to deal with, this is more important. So, or more helpful. And so it's because it's a gel form, and I don't have to do all the mixing. I can just put that on the skin, then add the DMSO, and it penetrates. And so that's really good for things like the Renew 28 is good for burns. I had a back issue where I had chemicals in my back from sheets. And so I put that on there and put the DMSO, and the pain was gone right away. So if you're wanting the MMS with the DMSO, then that's website is mms-supplement.com. Yeah, I suppose I could have written it in here. Thank you. All right. Great. All right. So any other questions?
I have a question about the fight-flight response.
Yes.
Since we're under so much stress these days, everybody is.
Yes.
And we know how important the digestive system is to the immune system.
Mm-hmm.
Generally speaking, what would you say would be the most important thing to focus on? If you could pick one, or maybe you can't pick one.
And I think what I hear you saying is the digestion versus the immune system.
Well, the digestion affects everything. It affects the immune system. The fight-flight response affects the digestion. I mean, they're all interconnected.
Yeah.
It's like, so I guess it's where do you go to the cause, the first cause that maybe could filter down to all of them? Is there one?
I think you're right. They're all connected. And I think that right now, what's really important is to find a way to get balance. And we need to find something that helps us feel like the world is safe.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because when we're safe, then everything can function digestionally wise. When we're safe, our immune system is good. When we feel safe, then we're not in fight or flight. And so finding something that really helps us feel grounded, safe, and secure. And so a lot of times when I'm dealing with clients, and even me, so I'm not immune, is being aware that I feel that the world is a safe place and that I'm safe. So both of those, the world is safe and I am safe. And so and to me, I think when we impact our limbic system, it impacts everything. And so if we find a way to involve all of our senses, so we think about a beautiful picture, or we think of a color, or we think of, the smell of, and I always use chocolate chip cookies, even though we're supposed to be healthy. But think about a fresh squeezed orange, but just think about those senses and how they come alive with, taste. Sometimes just a really refreshing glass of water and how that just feels and taste wise. And so you've got taste and smell and sight. And then, touch. Like I'm wearing a very nice soft sweater today, and it's one of my favorites. And so it's like just, having that touch, but involving all your senses to make your limbic system breathe, I think is really important. And obviously breath work is important, and being able to, just be able to take a breath and remember to take a breath, that really helps calm that whole vagus nerve, like we were talking about, down, and that will help too. But yeah, so really realizing that the world seems to want to be in fight or flight, but we need to really figure out a way to help us feel grounded and secure, and that everything's okay. It's really important because that's going to help our immune system. I don't know how many people I've tested that the reason their immune system is offline and they are sick is because they're living in fear. And that's like the number one thing to really work on. And it's not easy. I mean, I do it to myself sometimes. I flip by the wrong, screen on the phone or something. And I have to really say, okay, where are my boundaries? What am I not going to allow in my life? And really be aware of how things are impacting you and whether it's in a good or bad way, and be willing to change. And it's hard sometimes because there are certain things that, you have watched or like to watch or, or have in your life that you realize, wow, this isn't really serving me at a deeper level.
So at the basis of all of this, it sounds like it's mental and emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it starts.
Yeah.
The
I mean,
fear.
it sounds strange, but I mean, I do all this QT stuff and testing, but I will never forget the lesson my son taught me as a little baby, is that, he would be, his neurotransmitters would be off and I'd be coding him, trying to help him be happy. And my mom or dad would walk up and they'd make him laugh and he would stop being reversed and be unbalanced again. Like, darn it. So sometimes it is the simple things. And so, and so we work every, time we work with someone is to make sure that they have a good security and a base and are not in fight or flight.
Jody, what I find too is can be really, really helpful along with quantum is emotional freedom technique and mindfulness.
Yes.
Because that can really, even if you don't know what's causing something, I mean, as long as you're online or whatever, I mean, if you're not really reversed or offline, even if you tap on the symptoms and you don't even know what the cause is, sometimes that can help to rectify it.
Very true. There's, the three modalities I like the most is, the QT, the EFT, because you can tap through those very easily and remember which points. And then I have a system that I learned, which is called Solutions. It's now called EBT, which is emotional brain freedom. But it basically says, we have these emotions sometimes that we don't realize is stuck in our body. And so she has this, be aware several times a day. Okay, well, what are my essential pain feelings? So am I angry, sad, afraid, or guilty? And then what are my earned reward? Am I happy, secure, proud, and grateful? And just being aware of, okay, where am I emotionally on just those 4 or 8 items really helps you be able to go, oh, okay. And so, but it's like that same thing. We're tapping into the emotional and grounding ourselves more. So that's one that I've really, really enjoyed.
That's called emotional brain freedom. Is that what you said?
EBT, so emotional
OT?
brain training.
Oh, training. Okay.
Yeah, emotional brain training.
Is there a website or something for that?
Let me just double check here. Let me see if I can pull it up. That didn't work. Let me try again one. Okay, so it's EBT CONNET or ECT.net.
So you it's EBTCON, 2 N's?
Yeah, 2 N's. So you're an EBT Connect.
Okay, connect.net. Okay.
And the lady that runs it is Laurel Mellon, and she's a therapist out of San Francisco.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's really, she has counseling, she does, you can sign up like a monthly counseling, and they do things called cycles. It's really helpful. I like it. So it's kind of, they all add together, and sometimes I'll just test, well, which one works better. And so it's neat to have different things in your quiver that really helps you with different situations sometimes. All right, well, let me see. So it sounds like some of you are aware of what quantum techniques is, and I've worked with several of you. And so, but basically what we do at quantum techniques is I like to try to make sure people have their health and happiness. And so together we're discovering on the phone why you're having a health issue and what you can do about it. So a lot of times it could be something that you've eaten. It could be something that you've breathed in, like mold, that's impacting your life. It can even be pathogens like viruses and bacteria and parasites. So once we've identified that through muscle testing, we also find out maybe there's a belief system or an intention that you have that is not harming you, or is harming you. So in other words, I'm not being heard. One that I'm finding a lot these days is that people are distancing from themselves, and so they're also trying to create distance from God. And so we're having to reconnect that pretty much on everyone we work with. But we also work for things that are simple, like digestion issues or kidney issues. But we also work on the hard stuff, like things that, maybe doctors have said, I don't know what it is. And so, they're confused. And so we work with the non-healing issues to find out why the body's not working in healing this. But the whole point is to get the health and happiness back of the body, and so that you're in balance so that you can live a joyful life. And so I'd love the opportunity to work with you or someone that is really struggling with their health and not being able to heal, so that I can help. And what we do is we offer a first-time client a 60-minute session for $300 that helps them be able to find out what's going on. It's almost like an hour diagnostic session where we find out what are you eating, what do you put on your body, what things are impacting you so you can get your health back. And you can ask questions and kind of get that all kind of worked on. After that first session, that doesn't take as long to make sure that you're maintaining your health, and maybe there's some situation that's come up in life, and so we need to work some more on that. But it's that first session that sometimes really helps you kind of get a leg up on what's going on with your health and why you're having issues. So you're always welcome to email me. We talked about at Jody@quantumtechniques.com. We do have a really new website, and so you're welcome to check that out. It's a little bit easier to kind of navigate and look through. But it's one of those things where I found that I click on something, oh, that's interesting, and then I got to get down a rabbit hole. But there's lots of information there. It's really, really fun and good to listen to. I have a YouTube channel, which is Jody at Colegrove at Quantum Techniques. And I share a lot of health videos on there that with different subjects that can help you know how to get your health and happiness back. Quantum Techniques as a company also has one, and it's just named Quantum Techniques. I also have a Facebook page, which is Jody King Colegrove, my personal one, but we also have health and happiness through muscle testing. And so I share a lot of health articles on there that's helpful. And also I post the YouTube videos on there so you can kind of see which subjects I'm kind of discussing. And then Quantum Techniques also has their own Facebook page that you can look at. And I actually have a Facebook group that I've started, which talks about Health Puzzle Academy is what it's called. And what's nice about that one is that you can have input. And so you can ask questions, you can post things in there to try to get some feedback and help other people learn how to also, what you've learned to help take care of their health and happiness. Just like you guys talked about the vagus nerve and the fascia, and we've brought in a lot of those things on how to help us not live in fight or flight. And so that's exciting for lots of people because they like to know that information. So it's all shared.
What's the name of that again?
That is called Health Puzzle Academy.
Health, what?
Yeah, health. HEAL.
What? Yeah, and then what's the second word?
Puzzle. It's like a puzzle piece. So P.
Oh, okay, Health Puzzle, okay.
And I'm going to be working on trying to put together classes so that people can, get some more information about, how to muscle test and things like that. So looking forward to doing that in this coming year. Well, great. Well, I'm glad everybody showed up today. It was really fun to talk to you. I love it. It looks like I have Joanne, Darla, Bridget, Catherine, and Rachel that I send information to. So hopefully I've got those emails written down correctly, and I will send those to you. And if you don't get it, like I said, then send me an email at Jody@Quantum Techniques, and I will send that out. And I will also send you the information on ASEA too, so you'll have that. Well, great, guys. I hope you have a blessed rest of the day, and I hope this time is good. I ran out of time to be able to do this in the evening, so I said, well, we'll try it at 2 o'clock, see who shows up. So I'm just grateful that you guys showed up. It was really fun.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jody. Appreciate it.
Blessings.
Have a good day, everybody.
Bye.